families of Dom and Davion. I'm so deeply sorry. I hope one day you can see I would never let this happen or do it on purpose. I wish I could remember what happened. I'm just so sorry. I'm heartbroken. I love Dom and Davion.
August 2023. More than a year has passed since that horrific morning in Strongsville, Ohio. The case of Mackenzie Shirilla has gripped the nation. Cable news networks have covered it. True crime podcasts have dissected it. Social media is divided. Some people see a troubled teenager who made a terrible mistake. Others see a cold-blooded killer who deserves to spend the rest of her life behind bars. And now, finally, the moment everyone has been waiting for. The trial begins. Mackenzie Shirilla walks into the courtroom. She's 19 now, no longer the 17-year-old girl from the crash scene. She's dressed conservatively, hair pulled back, minimal makeup. Her attorneys have coached her well. She looks small, vulnerable, like someone who couldn't possibly have done what she's accused of. And that's exactly the image they want to project.
Mothers of the victims sharing emotional words as the punishment was handed down.
I am devastated by the loss of Davion. The world lost a truly special man.
But here's the thing. This isn't a jury trial. Mackenzie and her defense team have waived their right to a jury. Instead, this will be a bench trial, meaning one person will decide her fate. Judge Nancy Margaret Russo. And Judge Russo has a reputation. She's thorough. She's no nonsense. She doesn't let emotion cloud her judgment. And she doesn't tolerate games. So if Mackenzie thinks she can manipulate her way out of this, she's about to learn otherwise. The courtroom is packed. Dominic Russo's family sits on one side, David Flanagan's family on the other. Mackenzie's family sits behind the defense table. The air is thick with tension, grief, anger. Everyone in that room is carrying something heavy. And for the next several days, they're going to relive the worst moment of their lives over and over again. Before we go any further, I want to ask you something. What do you think justice looks like in a case like this? Is it life in prison? Is it a chance at redemption? Is it something in between? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to know what you think. The prosecution begins. The lead prosecutor stands and addresses Judge Russo. His voice is steady, confident. He lays out the case methodically. He talks about the black box data, the lack of brake application, the 100-mile-per-hour impact, the surveillance footage from days before the crash showing Mackenzie driving the same route, the threats she made to friends, the toxic relationship with Dominic. And then he says something that sends a chill through the courtroom. Your Honor, this was not an accident. This was not reckless driving. This was a mission of death. Mackenzie Shirilla used her car as a weapon. She turned a 3,500-pound vehicle into a missile, and she aimed it directly at that wall with the intent to kill Dominic Russo. David Flanagan was collateral damage, an innocent victim caught in the crossfire of her rage. The defense objects. They argue that the prosecution is being inflammatory, that they're painting Mackenzie as a monster when she's just a scared kid who made a mistake. But Judge Russo overrules. She wants to hear everything. And so the trial continues. Witness after witness takes the stand. Friends of Mackenzie and Dominic testify about their relationship. One former friend, visibly shaking, recounts a conversation she had with Mackenzie weeks before the crash. She said she wanted to hurt him. She said she'd crash the car to end it all. I thought she was just venting. I didn't think she actually meant it. The courtroom goes silent. Another witness, a classmate, describes seeing Mackenzie and Dominic arguing in the school parking lot. They were screaming at each other. She was crying. He walked away and she yelled something like, "You're going to regret this." I didn't think much of it at the time, but now, looking back, it's terrifying.
The prosecution also brings in expert witnesses. A crash reconstruction specialist explains the physics of the collision. He uses diagrams and simulations to show that at 100 miles per hour, with no braking, the impact would have been catastrophic, unsurvivable for the passengers. He also notes that Mackenzie, as the driver, had the best chance of survival due to the angle of the airbags and the structural reinforcement around the driver's seat. It's almost as if she knew, as if she calculated it. Then comes the automotive forensics expert. He testifies about the black box data. He shows the graph on a large screen, speed increasing, accelerator at 100%, brake pedal at 0, steering angle straight. He points to the data and says, "This is not the signature of an accident. This is the signature of intent." And then, the moment everyone has been waiting for, the prosecution plays the surveillance footage. The courtroom lights dim. A large screen flickers to life. And there it is, the video from July 31st, 2022, 5:30 a.m. The silver Toyota Camry appears on screen. It's moving slowly at first, almost cautiously. Then it circles back, and suddenly the engine roars. The car accelerates, faster, faster, faster. The timestamp shows the speed increasing. And then, impact. The Camry slams into the brick wall. The video freezes on the moment of collision. The courtroom is silent. You could hear a pin drop. Some people in the gallery are crying. Others are covering their mouths in shock. Dominic's mother buries her face in her hands. Davon's family members hold each other, trembling. And Mackenzie? She's staring down at the table, not looking at the screen, not reacting, just sitting there, stone-faced. If you're still watching, I need you to do something for me. Hit that like button. Let me know you're here, because what comes next is even more intense. But the prosecution isn't done. They play another video, this one from days before the crash. Same location, same road. And there's Mackenzie driving slowly down Alameda Drive. She approaches the wall, slows down, stops, then backs up and drives away. The prosecutor pauses the video and looks directly at Judge Russo. "Your Honor, this is a trial run. She was planning this. She knew exactly where to go. She knew exactly what she was going to do. And on the morning of July 31st, she executed that plan." The defense team scrambles. They try to downplay the footage. They argue that Mackenzie could have been lost. Maybe she was turning around. Maybe she was meeting someone in the area. But the prosecution counters. If she was lost, why did she come back days later and accelerate into that exact spot at 100 miles per hour? Coincidence? I don't think so. The defense's turn comes, and their strategy is clear. They're going to lean on sympathy. Mackenzie's attorney stands and paints a picture of a broken, traumatized teenager. He talks about her injuries from the crash, the brain trauma, the memory loss. He argues that Mackenzie doesn't remember what happened that night, that her mind has blocked it out as a defense mechanism. "Your Honor," the attorney says, his voice soft, almost pleading, "we will never truly know what happened inside that car. Was it Dominic grabbing the steering wheel? Was it a sudden acceleration panic? Was Mackenzie trying to avoid something in the dark? We don't know. And because we don't know, we cannot say beyond a reasonable doubt that she acted with intent. This is a tragedy, a horrible, life-altering tragedy, but it is not murder." He calls a medical expert to the stand, a neurologist who testifies about Mackenzie's brain injuries. He explains that traumatic brain injuries can cause memory loss, confusion, and impaired judgment. He suggests that Mackenzie may have been in a dissociative state during the crash, that she wasn't fully aware of what she was doing. The prosecution cross-examines aggressively. "Doctor, is it possible for someone in a dissociative state to accelerate a vehicle to 100 miles per hour in a straight line without touching the brakes?" The doctor hesitates. "It's unlikely, but not impossible. But unlikely, correct?" "Yes, unlikely." The defense tries to regain ground. They bring up Mackenzie's age, 17 at the time of the crash. They argue that her brain wasn't fully developed, that teenagers are impulsive, that they don't fully understand consequences. They're asking for leniency, for mercy, for the court to see Mackenzie as a child, not a criminal. But then, the prosecution does something devastating. They bring in more witnesses, people who knew Mackenzie, people who saw her behavior after the crash. One investigator testifies about the police car ride. He describes how Mackenzie's emotions seemed to switch on and off, calm one moment, crying the next, then calm again. It didn't feel genuine. It felt rehearsed. Another witness, a nurse from the hospital, testifies about Mackenzie's behavior while she was being treated. She asked about Dominic and Davon. When we told her they didn't survive, she cried for a moment. But then she stopped and asked if she was going to be in trouble. It struck me as odd. Most people in shock don't immediately think about legal consequences. They're too grief-stricken.
The courtroom is tense. You can feel the weight of every word, every piece of evidence, every testimony. And through it all, Mackenzie sits quietly. Her attorneys have advised her not to testify. And she doesn't. She never takes the stand. She never tells her side of the story in her own words. And for some people, that silence speaks volumes. Because if you're truly innocent, if this really was just an accident, wouldn't you want to explain yourself? Wouldn't you want to tell the judge what happened? But Mackenzie stays silent. And that silence feels like an admission. Let me ask you something. Do you think she should have testified? Would it have made a difference? Comment below and let me know your theory. The trial lasts several days. Both sides present their closing arguments. The defense makes one final plea. They ask Judge Russo to consider Mackenzie's age, her lack of criminal history, the fact that she too is a victim in all of this. She lost her boyfriend. She lost a friend. She nearly lost her own life. And now she has to live with that guilt forever. Isn't that punishment enough? But the prosecution's closing argument is brutal. They recap the evidence, the black box data, the surveillance footage, the trial run, the threats, the lack of remorse. And then the lead prosecutor looks directly at Judge Russo and says, "Your Honor, Mackenzie Shirilla is not a victim. She is a perpetrator. She made a choice, a deliberate, calculated choice to end 2 lives. And she almost succeeded in ending a third, her own. This was not an accident. This was murder. And justice demands accountability." And then the waiting begins. Judge Russo takes time to review all the evidence. Days pass. The families are on edge. Mackenzie is held in custody. And everyone is wondering the same thing. What will the judge decide? Will Mackenzie walk free? Will she get a light sentence? Or will justice be served? August 14th, 2023. The courtroom reconvenes. Judge Russo enters. Everyone stands. The tension is unbearable. Judge Russo sits. She looks at Mackenzie. And then she begins to speak. Her voice is firm, unwavering. She goes through the evidence point by point. She addresses the defense's arguments, and then she delivers her verdict. The court finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of murder. The courtroom erupts. Dominic Russo's mother sobs. Devon's family members embrace each other, tears streaming down their faces. Mackenzie's family gasps. And Mackenzie herself? She breaks down. For the first time since the trial began, she shows real emotion. She cries. Loud, uncontrollable sobs. Her shoulders shake. Her face crumples. But is it genuine? Or is it just the realization that she's not going home? Judge Russo continues. This was not reckless driving. This was not an accident. This was murder. The evidence is clear. The defendant acted with purpose and intent. She accelerated towards that wall with the goal of ending lives, and she succeeded. 2 young men are dead because of her actions, and that is unforgivable. Judge Russo then addresses Mackenzie directly. Every decision we make is important. Every action has consequences. You made a choice, Mackenzie, And that choice has forever altered the futures of 3 families. Dominic and Devon will never have the chance to grow up, to fall in love, to start families, to achieve their dreams, and that is because of you. The sentencing comes next. Mackenzie Shirilla is sentenced to 15 years to life in prison. She will be eligible for parole after 15 years, but there's no guarantee she'll ever be released. She could spend the rest of her life behind bars. And in that moment, as the sentence is read, Mackenzie's whole world collapses. She's no longer the confident teenager who thought she could get away with it. She's a convicted murderer, and reality has finally caught up to her. If this story has affected you, if it's made you think, made you feel, leave a comment. Share your thoughts. Tell me what you think justice means in a case like this. And if you've made it this far, thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you want more stories like this. We're not done yet. The aftermath of the trial is heartbreaking. Dominic Russo's mother, Christine, gives a statement. Her voice is raw with pain. Mackenzie was part of our family. We loved her. We trusted her. And she took my son from me. I will never get to see him graduate. I'll never see him get married. I'll never meet his children. She stole all of that from us, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive her. Devon Flanagan's family speaks too. They talk about Devon's kindness, his dreams, his future, and they express their frustration that he was never supposed to be involved in this. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Devon didn't deserve this, his mother says through tears. He was innocent, and now he's gone, and we have to live with that every single day. Mackenzie's family also releases a statement. They express sorrow for the victims' families. They acknowledge the pain and loss. But they also maintain that Mackenzie is not the monster she's been portrayed as. They believe she made a terrible mistake. And they hope that one day she'll have a chance at redemption. But for many people, that's hard to accept because the evidence is overwhelming. This wasn't a mistake. This was a choice, and choices have consequences. The case sparks a national conversation about teenage drivers, about mental health, about toxic relationships, about what happens when emotions spiral out of control, and about accountability. Because at the end of the day, Mackenzie Shirilla made a decision that cost 2 young men's lives, and she has to live with that forever.
So what do we take away from this? What's the lesson here? Maybe it's about recognizing the warning signs of a toxic relationship. Maybe it's about speaking up when someone makes a threat, even if you think they're joking. Maybe it's about understanding that our actions have consequences, not just for us, but for everyone around us. Or maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe it's just a reminder that life is fragile, that it can be taken away in an instant, and that we have a responsibility to protect it, not just our own lives, but the lives of others. Mackenzie Shirilla didn't protect those lives. She ended them. And now, she's paying the price. But here's the question that lingers, the one that keeps people up at night. Could this have been prevented? Were there warning signs that were missed? Could someone have intervened? Could someone have stopped her? We'll never know for sure. But what we do know is this. 2 young men are gone. 2 families are broken. And a community is left to pick up the pieces. And somewhere in a prison cell, Mackenzie Shirilla sits with the weight of what she's done. Does she feel remorse? Does she regret it? Does she wish she could take it back? We don't know. She hasn't spoken publicly since her sentencing, and maybe she never will. But her silence doesn't erase what happened. It doesn't bring Dominic and Devon back. It doesn't heal the wounds she's caused. All it does is leave us with questions, and those questions may never be answered.
Thank you for following Mackenzie Shirilla's story to the end. If this case moved you, if it made you think, if it made you feel something, hit that like button and subscribe. We have more stories that deserve to be heard. Share your thoughts, your feelings, and your final theory in the comments. What do you think drove Mackenzie to do what she did? Was it rage? Was it heartbreak? Was it something darker? And what do you think justice looks like in a case like this? I want to hear from you. Before you go, let me leave you with one final thought. Every day we make choices. Some are small, some are life-changing, but every single one of them matters. Every action we take sends ripples out into the world. And we have to ask ourselves, what kind of ripples are we creating? Are we making the world a better place? Or are we causing harm? Mackenzie Shirilla made her choice, and now 2 young men are dead. Don't let emotions, no matter how overwhelming, drive you to a place of no return. Choose life. Choose kindness. Choose compassion. And if you're struggling, if you're in a toxic relationship, if you're feeling out of control, reach out. Talk to someone. Get help. Because there's always another way. Always. Thank you for watching. Until next time, take care of yourselves and take care of each other.